Hi, I'm Mrs. Annis, and this is our orientation, our PE orientation simplified. If you would like to see the whole thing with questions answered and a little bit more in depth, you can go to the Class Connect recordings and watch that whole Class Connect recording, which we'll post today after the orientation. But here's just kind of an overview of what our class is going to be like. If you have any questions, please feel free to K-mail Mrs. Brackman or myself, and we can definitely answer those specifically for you. But here's just a quick overview of what PE class is going to be like for the spring semester. So we'll just quickly flip through some of the slides that we're going to talk about in orientation to give you the gist of what the class is about. So a little bit about ourselves, and then we did want to touch on, we would really like to get to know you. So yes, communication with your LC is super important, but as much as possible, if you can communicate with us through K-mail and phone calls, that would be fantastic. Also, I bet your big question is, how in the world am I going to take PE online? Next week, since we don't have school on Monday, you're going to be completing your pre-test if you haven't already done that. It is in your mandatory PE pre-assessment tab. So if you click on that, I'll show you that a little bit later in our slide here. It is for completion points only. We know that you're not going to know the answers to these questions. They're pretty difficult. So just do your best in completing those. When we see that you've completed it over the next week, we're going to go in and give you full points for that. So that's the only thing that you have to do this next week, since we aren't going to have Class Connect on Monday. But that is the first step in taking PE online. And then every week we're going to kind of do Class Connects, where we'll get together, talk a little bit about our content, and then you're going to log activity logs. We'll tell you all about how to do that. And then later in the course, we'll be doing some projects together. And then at the very end of the semester, we meet once for a mandatory assessment that the state requires of us, and we'll get into that a little bit more as well. So how are you going to know what is due? I know that our course, it has a lot of content, and a lot of things say, download this worksheet, complete this quiz, but really the only things that are required of you are the things that Mrs. Brackman and myself put in your class notes and your class plan. So if you don't see it written out in your class notes right there in the middle of your screen or in your class plan, if it is in your content, you do not have to worry about it. Only the things that Mrs. Brackman and myself assign to you in those areas that you see in your class plan pop up, or that is reiterated in your class notes right there in the middle, are the things that you have to complete for this course. So if you're reading through the content and you see some things that say do this or complete this, if Mrs. Brackman or myself have not assigned that to you, it is not due. So that's kind of a plus for you. And then you can always find the Class Connect recordings if you have to miss a class in our Class Connect recording tab. So we put those in every week, but we'll also kind of try to do these short little recordings to make it simple for you. Here's where you're going to find some things. Your class news is right there in the middle of your class home page. So everything that we assign, we're always going to put right there, hopefully at the beginning of the week, but you'll see updates, so we'll always put your assignments there. And then where this red arrow is right here, you're going to see your plan. If you click on that, it's going to give you the calendar to tell you if there's anything due. And I think that pops up in this for you as well if there is something to do. All of the information that you're going to need this semester, you're going to find right here in your course materials. So a lot of good information there. All right, so again, your content is where you're going to find your reading and things like that. But if you click on class content here or class content here, here is where you're going to find where we post our Class Connect recordings. And then your course material will have any information like your quizzes or anything that we're going to put in there for your class materials. Those are the things that you're going to need. And then you'll see where our mandatory pre-assessment that you're going to do this following week can be found. 3 simple tabs, really. So class news, super important here. This is where you're going to find most of your information each week. So this will be the first thing that you want to check each week. What's going on in class? What do I have to do? Has anything been canceled? Has anything been changed? All of it right here, class news. Always just check that really quickly. And then where is my Dropbox? How am I going to turn some things in? Very few things are turned into the Dropbox, but your activity logs that you're going to log your activity will be turned into the Dropbox. So where do you find that? Tools, Dropbox, and then you'll find this is what your Dropbox looks like. You just need to find out which one you're turning in, click on it, and then where you need to add a file is where you're going to upload it. We'll walk you through all of this again, after we turn in every assignment, we'll show you how to do it, but just kind of a general overview of where your Dropboxes are if you haven't had to use those in other classes. All right, so getting active in PE and logging it, that's kind of going to be your major source of your points for PE class. Can't really pass PE class without getting active. So you are going to be active. The good thing about that is you get to choose the things that you do. Unlike your PE class in a brick and mortar, where you have to do the things that you walk into class and are assigned to do, you get to choose the things that you like to do. I know a lot of you don't necessarily like PE class or PE or being active, but at least you get to choose some of the things that you like to do, and we'll give you some ideas, and hopefully we'll maybe strike something up in your mind that is interesting to you. All right, so 2 weeks each month is what you have to log. Ideally, we would love for you to do Monday through Sunday, 60 minutes each day, but we understand that life sometimes gets in the way. So your logs are going to look like Monday through Sunday, and we have a place where you can complete the dates in here. But if you happen to miss a date or miss a weekend or something like that, remember that a month is 4 weeks long, and you only have to do 2 weeks out of this month. So you have 2 extra weeks to make up. So if you miss a Friday and a Saturday here, but you know that you have an extra Monday or Tuesday where you've popped in some extra exercise, just put in the correct date here. You can, put in whether it was a Monday or Tuesday, or you just put in the date here. I'll see the date, and then what it was that you did here. Being specific, we're going to cover those on our first Monday together on how to specifically go through these logs, but just in general, the better and the more specific you can put in your activities, the more credit you're going to get here. So just being specific, making sure that you're doing 14 days out of your 30 days out of the month. So pretty simple, and we'll cover that in depth on our very first day of class. So no worries on that one. Okay, and then where am I going to find these activity logs that I'm speaking of? So class content, which I showed you that tab. You can go to content, class content, and then right here you can download this activity log. If you click on activity log, scroll all the way to the bottom, you can download it here at this button over here, or here with this download arrow here. You will want to save it to your computer. Each month looks the same, so if you just want to save it and keep using it, you only have to download it once and reusing it, or using a fresh one, because you can't copy and paste the same one every month, but reusing it. But this is where you're going to find your activity log for the month. All right, so basically it's kind of just getting up and get moving. We again will talk about this more in depth on our first Monday together, which I think is the 25th, if I am correct. But basically, it's getting up and getting moving. I'm going to show you just some ideas of some of the things that we're talking about. It's not an all-inclusive list, but it is just kind of to spark your mind of like, what am I going to do at PE online? So some of the things that you might already be doing, some of the things that you like to do, some of the things that you possibly could do, here's kind of a list. Do you already go out and are you already on a basketball team? Do you already skate? Do you already dance? Do you already, do karate? Do you already do these things? Do you like to hike? Do you like to walk? Do you walk your dogs? Do you walk a certain distance every day to go get the mail? Is your driveway 2 miles long? Those type of things. Do you go to the gym and do you do the elliptical? Do you lift weights? Those are kind of things that you can log on your fitness log or your activity log. So we're going to talk a lot about the things that you can do, and we're just going to touch on some of the things that you are not allowed to do. That you're not allowed to put on your log. But again, more in depth on our first class. We'll talk specifically so you can do question and answers on our activity logs. But here's the thing that I want to just note to you, that if you have an injury or if there is something preventing you health-wise that keeps you from doing physical activity, Mrs. Brackman and I really need to know about that as soon as possible. So if your LC can K-mail us about that or call us about that as soon as possible, that would be great, because we'll need to think of a plan or an alternative for you. So, all right, so touching back on some of the things that cannot be accepted on your activity log, things like chores, Remember you are earning a high school credit or half a credit for your PE, and things have to be approved by the Ohio Department of Education. We have standards and assessments that we have to fill out, so everything kind of has to be gauged according to that. Would the state approve this? And so things like doing dishes and folding clothes, going up and down the stairs, putting up your Christmas decorations or your Halloween or your Valentine decorations, those things don't count. But things like pushing your mower, farming if you live on a farm, things like that, shoveling snow, those things all do count, because our main focus is about getting your heart rate up. Are you getting your heart rate up, and are you actively moving? So things like that are going to count. Shopping, I know going to the mall, some of you are power shoppers, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to count on your activity log. I love to shop, but I don't necessarily count that on my, as my workout of the day. So shopping cannot be counted as your workout for the day. Push-ups for 60 minutes, sit-ups for 60 minutes, lunges for 60 minutes. We don't count those because really it's physically impossible. If you think that you'd like to log that, I'd really like to challenge you to tape that for 60 minutes for me to show me that you can actually do that. Can you add push-ups, sit-ups, and lunges into your workout? Absolutely, but we know that those are things that cannot be done for a long period of time. So please don't be putting those on your activity logs for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 60 minutes, because we know that that's not physically possible. Things like jumping rope for that amount of time, things like that cannot be done for that amount of time. So we're going to be looking for those as well. Babysitting in general cannot be put on your log, but if you are being specific on your log and you tell me that you went out and played tag, or you jumped on the trampoline, or you did things to be active while you're babysitting, you can definitely put on there. But again, it's about being specific. I can't just give you credit for saying that you babysat. Again, copying and pasting is another thing that is going to put a red flag out for us. If you are saying that you're doing the same thing for 7 days in a row, for 2 weeks at the same exact time, that's going to kind of raise a red flag to me. Some people are disciplined or are in a sport that does require that, but again, that's going to be something that it's going to raise a red flag, and we'll talk more about that on our first day. So PE days is something that the state requires us to actually visually see you doing things like offensive and defensive skills, team sportsmanship, can you actually run, kick, throw, those type of things. So we've created things that we call PE days that are in different locations. We know that we can't come necessarily to your backyard or to the park next door to you, but we've put them in the major cities, and we're giving you lots of time to plan for this since these are in May. And we will tell you the specific parks in a letter that we will put out in your course materials as well here this following week to let you know where they're located. And if transportation things are an issue for you, or this week is something that you've already know that you've planned for, your LC will have to notify us of that. So, but this is something that is required by the state of Ohio for us to assess you visually, and that is on the Ohio Department of Ed website if you'd like to see that. Again, you will be taking your pre-test. Where can you find that? It is in the mandatory pre-assessment. Click on that, click on the pre-test. You have one chance to take it, so once you click on it, make sure that you complete it. Don't worry about your answers, because remember, it is just for completion. Once you complete it, the computer, I think, will grade it for you, but don't worry about that grade. Mrs. Brackman and I will go back in, and then we will change that grade to your full completion points sometime next week. So we really just are encouraging you to take that anytime within the next few weeks. It is due by Monday, February 1st, but the sooner you get that out of your way, the better. You won't have to worry about that. And then again, we will be talking all about the activity logs and moving forward with our assignments the very first day of class, but not this following Monday, because you have Martin Luther King Day, and then so we will meet our very first PE day, which I think is the 25th, if I am correct. So I hope that you guys have a great weekend, and if you have any questions, please feel free to K-mail Mrs. Brackman or myself, and we will answer those for you.